We're going to start this with just a little bit different audience participation. Go ahead and raise your hand if you've ever felt overwhelmed. In the last month, week, earlier today, or maybe that was just me. We're going to take a look at a few common phrases that often come into play when it comes to feeling overwhelmed. And I'm guessing you're going to be able to help me fill in the blanks, so feel free to do so. This first one is 3 simple words. Practice makes perfect. Okay, that's pretty good, but we're going to try it one more time. Here we go. Practice makes perfect. Perfect. See what I did there? This next one is 4 words. We should be bigger, better, faster, stronger. Lovely. And this last one. If at first you don't succeed, try again. So if we get this straight, that we can just be bigger, better, faster, stronger, and if at first we don't succeed, then we can just try again. If we try again and again and again, eventually enough practice will make us perfect. It's no wonder we feel overwhelmed. I think these phrases are a little misleading, although often they can help us out. There's something missing from them. Now that practice make perfect was truly just our warm-up. But if you think about being bigger, better, faster, stronger, this whole time I don't think it's been talking about people. It's been talking about coffee. Think of it. Better, faster, stronger coffee, please. Just a cup of day can keep the overwhelm away. That's a phrase I can get behind. But sadly, I've been trying it for years now, and it's not working. You see, it's not the cup or the coffee itself that can do the trick. It's the coffee pot. We all go through these parts of life that I like to refer to as coffee pot moments. They take a lot of parts to put it together, and then you hit start and a waiting period begins. For those of you who don't know how to make coffee, you want to start with choosing whatever kind of coffee that's out there that works best for you. You're going to need a filter, and even if you're a 1 cup at a time kind of person, it still does the same trick. You combine them together, and the process can begin. But first, you need to put it in a device, you need to add the water, close it all up, hit the start button, and then you get to walk away. You can continue to get ready for your day. You get dressed, do hair and makeup. Perhaps you have kids that you need to help get ready as well. Although I don't recommend doing a whole lot of that until you've gotten that first cup. It goes better for everyone that way. But then you come back to the coffee once it's ready for you. And that first cup, that's where the magic begins. Most likely you don't sit and watch every single drop of those 12 cups fill the pot. No, you get to walk away. You get to let it do its thing. Likewise, a coffee pot moment, seeing as we're on a collegiate campus, we'll do an example that works best for your age. It's this thing in life called applying for jobs in the real world. I'd love to tell you that you get to stay here forever, but eventually they do ask you to leave. And as you walk across the stage in your cap and gown, unfortunately you don't just get to then walk out into an office of your choosing and start day 1. No, your process of finding your first job actually begins weeks, if not months, before graduation begins. It's your coffee pot moment. And out of all the jobs out there in the world, you can hand select ones that speak nicely to you, and then find your filter, the application process. And combining the two together, the process begins. But most likely you can't completely. You're going to need a list of references or letters of recommendation. And for the love, give us our coffee pot time to do that as well. Don't ask someone to write you a letter of recommendation the day before you're turning in your application. You have all of those parts, you put them together, and then the most terrifying part, you hit the submit button. But the most exhilarating part follows after that. You just walk away. It's out of your control and the ball is totally in their court now. You go about your daily routine, going to practice, taking exams, going to practice, day in and day out, until the results come back. And for some of you, you will have to start that coffee pot moment all over again, and that's okay. But for others, your result is there. It's in your control. And then you find a new coffee pot moment to focus on in life. and you get into a rhythm of looking at your long list of to-dos, finding the coffee pot moment and putting it at the top. Because as it brews, you can complete everything else that follows. And suddenly, you get into a rhythm, and you can be bigger, better, faster, stronger at brewing your cup of coffee. But it is crucial to understand that you don't want it to get too quick, or it'll be out of control and you'll be overwhelmed all over again. And that's when it's crucial to take a step back. Because if at first you don't succeed, try again. But if we just keep trying again, we won't know what we did wrong in the first place. So if at first you don't succeed, you need to reevaluate. Take a step back, reevaluate, and then try again. There aren't a lot of objects in this life that are designed to go backwards in order to have their full potential met. But take a slingshot, for example. You could argue that you can use it as is to strike someone or something, and the front row is now paying attention a little more closely. You could throw it at a target, but that's not what it was designed to do. The purpose of a slingshot is to go back before it can go forward. And the further back you go, the faster and more accurately the object will fly. Likewise, if you take time to take a step back in what it is that you're trying to accomplish, you too can find your greatest potential there. If only I had been taught this at a bit of a younger age, the rest of the phrase. Not just if at first you don't succeed, try again, but take a step back, reevaluate, and then try again. My path to getting here would look a little different. You see, at age 8, I tried out for the first time for a musical. Could I just have a small part with a couple of lines, please? They cast me the lead. And there, a passion for music and theater was born into my life. And it defined the first part of me. A couple years later, I tried out for a team for the first time, basketball, and the love of sports made up the other half of me. Although I wouldn't call myself an athlete until a few years later, because when you grow 6 inches in 6 months, there's not a whole lot of athleticism behind the athlete, but there is a whole lot of height, and when you're that age, that's really all that matters. Regardless, I pressed on, trying out for concert choir, show choir, band, madrigal, solo ensemble, worship team at church, volleyball, basketball, and track. Everything I needed was on this path, straight in front of me. So much so that when it came time to fill out questionnaires in high school, I knew exactly how to answer so that the results would read visual and performing arts. And likewise, I narrowed down my college selections to fit that exact path as well. Because I knew what I had wanted to be when I grew up. A music major, a singer. Fast forward to my first year at school, and I chalked up the lack of passion for the fact that it was just gen eds and intros and most of the information I had already learned in high school. Surely I will find the passion that I had for sports here. And as January came and went, and I was at home for that month, I tried to jump in with the rest of the team, as jumpers do, and just join in exactly where they had been conditioning all along. There's no way that I was going to lose my passion now. The first week came and went, and stiff and completely sore, I could barely walk my way to practice. But as the second week started, and I lined up against one of my teammates to race during warm-ups, we took off down the track, and that's when I felt it. And it wasn't passion or determination. No, I had just pulled not one, but both of my hamstrings. And if you ever thought a certain hill was difficult to climb after a workout, try doing so without being able to use the muscles that took you there in the first place. And as I sidestepped and backwards walked my way up that hill, I thought to myself, if there was ever a sign that this was no longer supposed to be part of my life, this was it. But no worries. The path to music is straight and narrow. And I can do that. And semester after semester, year after year, I made my way on that vocal performance major, declared from day one among a sea of people who were undecided. I knew exactly what it was I wanted to do, so much so that I graduated from a 4-year college in 3.5 years. But before you get the idea that I was ready to just dive into the workforce head on, you would be wrong, and I've misled you once again. You see, I was so fed up with not knowing what I was supposed to do. I couldn't sit in that classroom one more time. Because I had went on this straight and narrow path since I was 8 years old, and it would be a sign of failure to change your mind at this point. All the hours, all the money that had been put into class after class. Because nobody told me that it would have been okay to take a step back and add on a second major. Nobody told me it would have been okay to take a step back and forget this major completely, or take a step back and take a semester off, or take a step back and take a year off, or take a step back and start over somewhere else. Nobody told me because nobody knew. Fast forward 16 years later, we'll just toss the rest of that part of the story over here for now. I found a passion for running once again. This time, without any sort of clock or anyone to race against, just me, myself, and the beauty that is Decorah. This one morning in particular, I was out for a run during sunrise. 3 words I never thought I would say in my life. Morning, running, and sunrise. But here we were. I thought to myself, what a beautiful sunrise that is. I'm going to race to the end of the bridge and back again so I can stand here and bask in the beauty that is Decorah. Just kidding, that's Hawaii. I'm just making sure you're still with me. So as I made my way across the bridge and to the end, I turned around and saw every keynote speaker's dream, a visual aid from a real-life experience that I can use during a presentation. You see, I thought to myself, I will run there, and I will put 1 foot in the shadow and 1 foot in the sunlight so I can take a picture of my feet and then put that up on the screen and tell a room full of people you're truly just 1 step away from leaving the most overwhelming and darkest years of your life and running straight into the light. No, wait, we're not supposed to run straight into the light. Run straight into the well-lit path in front of you. And as I made my way across the bridge and up onto the dike to capture this moment, I saw I had missed it. That I had failed once again. If only I had gotten up sooner, or ran faster, or left earlier, that I would have had this moment to share with you today. And I looked up to see how long had I missed this sunrise by. But I saw I hadn't. Confused, the sun was still partially behind the trees, and I looked to my right and I saw that the ground was indeed shaded next to me. And I looked to my left and saw this well-lit path, and that's when I realized that I was standing in it all along. Because you see, when you're stuck in the middle of where overwhelm meets the expectations you have for yourself in this life, it's impossible to see that you're standing in where they're actually overlapping all along. That you truly are just one coffee pot moment away from building your momentum again. That you truly are just 1 or maybe 2 or 3 steps away from running straight into that well-lit path that's in front of you. That you truly are just 1 step away from seeing your greatest potential and watching it fly.